I call the member for Werriwa.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I rise to support the Broadcasting Services Amendment, Regional Commercial Radio and Other Measures Bill 2020. All of us in this place respect the importance of Australia's media and particularly its independence. However, due to the long-term actions of this government, independent and sustainable regional broadcast media is no longer sustainable. The range of regulations this government has forced on regional broadcasters is not reflective or relevant to the output or the reach of their stations. Regional media is not the poor cousin to our metropolitan broadcasters. It is no less important. This government has shown that regional media was facing market failure and it failed to act. In 2017, 12 regional and remote stations failed to meet the Australian content quota. The Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development and Communications made it clear that some regional broadcasters were facing difficulties in meeting their Australian content requirements. Now, 3 years later, the government decides to act as a guardian of regional media while allowing regional broadcasters to crumble without any support. The department itself stated the government will need to take action before more market failure occurs, as this would limit regional audiences' access to Australian content. If the government supports the notion that the current framework for regional and remote broadcasting isn't sustainable, why have they waited so long to act? This industry is facing an existential threat, and this government has done too little too late. Jobs, livelihood and access to information is at risk in regional Australia. We've already seen local media in metropolitan areas slow significantly and start to cut jobs. We're seeing the ABC forced to cut jobs because successive coalition governments are strangling the ABC through budget shortfall. This bill will allow regional broadcasters to monitor their work at a pace of their own output, which includes easier staff rostering, a move towards a complaint-based approach rather than the AMCA monitoring, and a removal of the 3-year statutory review. The bill will also not decrease the amount of local content which is currently available to regional audiences on commercial radio. The landscape of media in regional areas is not comparable to metropolitan Australia and can't be held to the same obligations. Regional Australians cannot be sold short. Major structural reform is needed if regional media is to survive indefinitely without market failure. It's taken 3 years for the government to do anything about the problem, and yet this bill is in all too familiar quick fix. A little bit of duct tape cannot hold back a cracking dam wall. Long-standing regulatory burdens cannot be undone with this simple amendment. If this is what the government has been working on for 3 years, it's not really a good effort. A new regulatory framework needs to be prepared for regional media outlets. It needs to be developed with evidence-based research, industry consultation and have at its core the interest of regional communities. Recent times have shown just how much regional communities rely on their local media. We saw during the bushfires, and we're also seeing it now during the COVID-19 pandemic. Bushfire victims had to rely heavily on regional broadcasts for the safety of their friends and family. If not for quick, decisive information, many Australians could have lost more than their homes. They would have lost their lives. Now, with the announcement that more than 125 News Corp papers will be closed or digitalised, regional communities take another hit. Some of these outlets provided a voice for the local community for more than 150 years. Regional Queensland is the hardest hit by these closures, with 22 publications going digital. This not only monopolises and limits the regional content being displayed, but the journalists who have worked in these regional communities will no longer have a job or opportunities in the area, further draining regional areas of local talent and experienced opportunities. During these tough times, to further burden regional communities attempting to recover from drought, bushfire and recession is unacceptable. Put simply, the government has failed to act in the best interests of these communities. It's failed to reform the regulatory framework that has burdened the industry for years. We can't allow the government to turn a blind eye to the issues in regional Australia and, with that, allow it to destroy the outlets which have proven invaluable for decades. The government needs to do more to ensure the long-term sustainability of regional media on which regional communities and, more importantly, Australians rely.